Hey guys, welcome to another analysis game. This is not going to be as much my show as it is zTurtle's. He played a really clean game. I have very little to say. It is a Fiora Shen mirror. I'm pretty much going to be narrating the game, but you know, he shared the game and I figured it was worth sharing. You can, it's extremely clean. He did almost everything right. So, here, obviously, well, this goes without saying. And obviously, I will say this: the game is not very complex, but it's important so that even when the game is relatively simple, you don't make any basic mistakes. And obviously, these are very there. It's very easy to make a basic mistake. You know, even if you're a good player, 2 seconds after you're like, "Why did I do that?" So now you'll see. As soon as his opponent passes round 3, he's essentially winning. He is ahead technically by all metrics, but because of the way the matchup goes, it's very easy to swing. One good combat is all it needs for the game to flip around. So it's really important that you work with your combats perfectly. And now also, because his opponent passed round 3, you know that they have a lot of combat tricks, or you should assume they have a lot of combat tricks and not so many units. You know, they don't have their, any cheap units, basically, including Fiora and River Shaper especially. So you know that their curve is going to be slow. They're going to have to spend a lot of their normal mana on units, and then you'll probably be fighting with just his 3 spell mana. And so you know that as long as you get set up the good trades, then you'll trade mana evenly. And when you trade mana evenly, they basically cancel each other out, and your good trades remain as good trades. So that's what you need to do. And as you can, so in this position, now I actually strongly prefer passing here. First of all, brightsteel protector is really valuable. Now the reason he played it is probably because he's looking at zTurtlee. He wants to prevent the attack. But the thing is, his opponent is not going to attack. So what happens is they're going to pass anyway. So you are going to give up your advantage from round 3, but you're going to retain your extra resources. You got a River Shaper proc. Play the game slow, and just trade evenly. At worst, and just try to make small advantages. Focus on retaining mana for combat, for your spell mana. And then grind it out, because you have the extra value. You have the brightsteel barrier, which is going to basically be a free card, and then you're going to have the extra card from River Shaper. So you're going to end up 1 or 2 cards up if you just hold the brightsteel protector, and you're under no pressure. You know your opponent can't go wide. I really like just passing here. Aside from that, though, from here you'll see pretty straightforward play. So here, obviously, there's a Shen. Play the 5 attack challenger. This is just straightforward. The Shen has 3 attack. Your unit has 4 health. If they spend their mana, then you can attack and trade spells. If they don't spend their mana, then you don't attack. Even though you have a strong attack, you just take it slow. Don't trade. Take the mana and then work from there, because you're still going to have your combat tricks. You're still going to have your board advantage. Even though you guarantee the River Shaper through, it's not. Just take the pass. You have the advantage. Hold on to it. So now, in this example, you see that your opponent has 3 mana. You have 3 mana. You have the only combat trick. Obviously, if they had 1 more mana, they could riposte, which would be a lot scarier. But right now, with 3 spell mana, the only combat trick they could play is Sharp Sight, which you could match. And as I said before, with the same amount of mana, trading combat tricks is just great for you, because you have the best initial trade. Meaning they have to play the card first, and then you can match them. So now, if they counter your single combat, you can notify, but generally you want to be at the top of the stack. You don't want to be at the bottom. So now our opponent taps down to 2 mana. We have 7 mana. So this combat will be good for us, essentially. And now what I actually like is I think I like Aegis here. You allow the trade. Well, I guess we were supposed to have, I wanted brightsteel in this position. So maybe if we still had the brightsteel, this would be the perfect time to play it. But knowing that we don't have brightsteel, their only spells are single combat, nopify, and sharp sight. Sharp sight being seemingly the worst one for us. Again, no, I just feel like I like Aegis here, but you can also pass and then go into next turn. But if I think our opponent should pass if we pass, probably, because with 7 mana we could have riposte for our River Shaper and they just lose. Wait, I'm assuming there's riposte. Yeah, there's 2 ripostes in the deck. Yeah, no, if we had brightsteel, this would be the perfect time to play. But I kind of like Aegis. I can't get around the Aegis. Maybe I'm crazy. Anyway, so this single combat he goes for is good. It's safe. Now, to be clear, I say I prefer Aegis. I kind of want to play Aegis, but it's so. I'm so unsure that sometimes if you just don't do it, because if you're unsure, the worst case scenario is that you still have the resource in your hand. If you play it and then you regret it, I mean, you also lose the resource. But so it's not so bad to play it, but it's all right. It's fine either way. Anyway, so here when we play this dragon again, we're more or less okay with passing. But if they spend their mana, we can just. Okay, so they play Brightsteel, which means we happily pull the Brightsteel Protector. If they magically play some combat trick, we can just trade Spirit's Refugee with it. So we are very happy with this, because the thing is, when they single combat this and we Spirit's Refuge, there's no answer for them that is good. Like, the thing is, they played the Brightsteel, which is really weak. They actually shouldn't even have played the Brightsteel. They should have just used Spirit's Refuge and used Brightsteel on the attack. That would have been much stronger. But, you know, here, when they single combat you and you play Spirit's Refuge, they don't have an answer. The worst possible situation is considered, and they don't have the mana for it. So, you if they answer it with, like, a sharp sight, you are so happy to trade it. You trade your... You essentially trade Spirit's Refuge and your dragon for single combat, sharp sight, and brightsteel, which is good. Anyways, you did also get your River Shaper proc, so you are up in cards. The Riposte top deck is insane. The best possible card to go with, obviously, a River Shaper in this scenario, where they have a challenger unit with more than 2 health. And obviously, the only real thing that could really even try to make a comeback for Meritos is Brightsteel Formation. So that's the only real concern for zTurtlee at this point, because they only have 2 cards. 2 cards is, frankly, nothing. It's nothing. Riposte, great. I mean, if one of their last 2 cards is concerted, so be it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It would be a little annoying, but the thing is, because with the single combat and sharp sight last turn, we know that they probably don't have concerted. Our opponent is debating whether or not to Spirit's Refuge, but again, we're happy with this. We still get the River Shaper proc. We trade Riposte for Spirit's Refuge, 4 mana barrier spell for 4 mana barrier spell, but we also draw a card. I mean, it just gets worse for our opponent. So here you could think about playing the Caretaker, but because we want our spells are all 4 mana, it's just good to retain our mana here. Here, let me just speed it up a bit. So now, because our opponent played the dragon and can only play 1 spell, we can just attack safely. So this is good, obviously. I mean, just clean. You don't want to attack with the River Shaper into the dragon. Just straightforward. Now, it is going to be of note that, well, our opponent here is debating whether or not to play Golden Aegis, but okay, so here with the Golden Aegis, you have Spirit's Refuge. You actually could, right here have the option to Golden Aegis on your River Shaper, but I mean, it's basically the same thing as playing Spirit's Refuge. If you're just paying 4 mana for a barrier, why use the more valuable Golden Aegis, because that can also give you a rally later? Because in this position, rally is value. And so I'll skip forward a bit while our opponent contemplates life. Okay, so they decided on these trades, and we played the Spirit's Refuge. Here, the lifesteal doesn't matter. The rally is much more valuable than lifesteal, so you get out the less valuable one in a situation where they don't matter. So our opponent probably just open attacks like... I'm actually really surprised if they don't attack with the 5/2. And here, the reason... So it is of note that River Shaper triggers even if the unit dies from the first strike. For example, if he orders the zTurtlee first, the dragon will still... the River Shaper will still draw a card. I'm not sure why that works, but it does. But the reason he picks the River Shaper first is obviously in case they have a barrier. Because against the barrier deck, you always use the lower attack unit first. Unless you have a special reason not to. So here, there's no reason not to attack with the zTurtlee. I don't know why he ended the round. I mean, like, our opponent could block with the 5/2 and then attack with the Tiana, but you just tank 8. Just tank 8. You got the 1-drop for taking 8 damage to kill their 5/2 is literally worth it at this point. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the game's over. Yeah, so I mean, this is just clean. Again, I did have obviously things to say, but overall it was a very clean game. The things I said aren't even like a big deal. He had an advantage and he held on to it. The biggest thing I would say is save the brightsteel round 4, but it's not obvious why first, because normally you want to stay on the board. You don't want to waste 4 mana. You want to have units, but the thing is, you know your opponent's not going to go wide. You're already slightly up in value. You know your opponent has combat tricks, you have combat tricks, you want to trade evenly. Just take it out, take a deep breath, give it a moment, and then you're going to win the long game. Because they can't kill you. They can't get through your units, and every time they try, every time a combat happens, you at least go even and you have more cards. So that's why it's a very safe decision to allow them to try to set up a board, because you know that your board is going to be fine. You have the combat tricks to preserve your board, so that even if you have 2 units and they have 3, soon they're gonna, if they just keep spending their mana developing, they're soon gonna have 1 unit and you're still gonna have 2 units, because your units survive and their units don't. Anyways, that obviously if they choose to spend all of their mana going wide, which they can't, which we knew because they passed rounds 1, 2, and 3. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good day. I'll try to make some more videos next week, but this is probably going to be the last video this week. See you guys next video.